How do you define brand suitability and sort of what the expectations are of your clients at Group M?
Well, when we talk to our clients about brand suitability, we actually start with their brand and we start with their brand values. And when clients think about how they want their customers and prospects to see their brand, that's the lens that we apply. And we use a process at Group M that we call risk tolerance or risk assessment. And we want our clients to work with us to identify the types of environments they feel comfortable with. TikTok is a great example. Some clients feel very comfortable in that environment. Others feel like the advertiser controls, the ability to avoid negative content isn't as well developed there as it is on other platforms like YouTube or Facebook. So it's a consultative engagement. And we always like to say that if a client says, "How did this happen?" we haven't done our job. We should always be in an engaged relationship with a client where they understand the decisions that we make and how those planning decisions impact their presence in the marketplace.
What's going on now during this COVID epidemic and concerns that you're hearing from your brands and some trends you're seeing and kind of perhaps what the implications of the current situation might mean around brand suitability?
Sure. The main trend is clients deciding how much they should continue to invest, how they should change their messaging. And then sort of a third concern is brand safety. At this point, it's not the top concern, I would say. But from a brand safety perspective, early on in the cycle, and remember, in countries like the US, there was no flip of a switch when all of a sudden we had a pandemic issue. It was sort of a developing realization that the condition, the virus was out of control. We realized and we listened very closely to the publishers that were giving us internal data to say, look, everything is being blocked, good content, bad content. And it was an interesting juxtaposition because actually Americans and people around the world were flocking to legitimate news sources to find out what was happening. So at the same time that there was a decline in the ability to use content because of blocking, there was actually more content available. So we've matured the approach. And what we've done is we've focused on the historical approach with contextual targeting, which is positive association. Every client wants to have their ads appear in an environment that has a positive impact on their brand message. So whether it's COVID-19 or not, we look to avoid the really negative content. And at this point for COVID, that's stories about death, stories about mortality rates, et cetera. But again, thinking about the news cycle, more and more of the COVID content is now positive. It's about working from home. It's about homeschooling. It's about the quarantine 15, or my new favorite expression, the best quarantinis that you can have on a Friday night. So more and more of the content related to coronavirus, we can use the nuanced capabilities of the verification providers to target the positive associations and avoid the negative.
Part of what's going on as a result of COVID is that folks are at home and streaming has gone crazy. I wanted to ask you about brand safety and suitability around connected TV, which is growing so quickly. Where does that stand? How are the tools and what are your issues that you need to solve?
Well, it's certainly true that CTV and streaming is accelerating. I wouldn't call it a renaissance because it's been growing for a while. It's the fastest growing area of our digital investment for clients is in connected television. But of course, with people spending more time at home, there's been a tremendous explosion. And even the pirates, even the illegal streaming sites are offering discounts to new customers. So they're using their marketing savvy as well as the good guys. Now, in general, there's three key problems or issues that we face with CTV when it comes to brand safety. The first is basic transparency, knowing where we're running. The second is technology. There's a myriad of different types of technology and proxy servers and SSAI and things that interdict the measurement process. And finally, there's the fraud and piracy. And if we can solve the first two, if we can get transparent deal terms, if we can get the type of terms that we have with digital video, we need to apply it to CTV. We need to know where we're running. We need to be able to use inclusion lists and exclusion lists. and we need the technology to become more standardized. A good example is bundle IDs. The same app might have a different ID across every app store that it's part of. And that makes it very difficult for the verification vendors to give us comprehensive, cohesive reporting.